Welcome, everyone, to the Coach's Corner radio show here on the CompuSports Radio Network, and welcome to our final show for the year 2012. Today's show, we're going to be talking option football. We're going to be talking quarterback techniques, under center from the shotgun. We're going to be talking drills, landmarks, things to help you improve your option game. Today's guest is out of the windy city of Chicago. We're going to be talking to Coach Mike DiMatteo. He is a clinic speaker, he is an author, and he's also put out a couple of videotapes up on Coach's Choice we'll talk about here later on. Coach Mike DiMatteo, next. Some of you folks are aware of OptionCentral.net. Some of you may even have had a membership to OptionCentral.net at one time. What many folks don't know is that Option Central has become the premier site for all things option football, with contributions from coaches from Massachusetts to California, from coaches like Joe Sells, Mark Snow, Jerry Campbell, Steve Ellison, Don Herman, and many others. Option Central is the place to learn many of the concepts that can help you with ideas for offensive success. And anyone who has heard this program for any length of time knows that I give defensive guys a hard time. But there are even a few articles that they can benefit from as well. There are even videos up there, too. OptionCentral.net. I'm there, and you should be, too.
This is the CompuSports Radio Network. Love your football? Coach's Corner starts now.
Mr. Anderson.
I want to thank everyone for joining the Coach's Corner radio show. Once again, I'm John Anderson from our new Smoky Mountain studio, our new digs up here on top of, believe it or not, if you look on a topographical map, this is called Anderson Mountain. So, without further ado, let me bring my guest in. He is from the Windy City. His name is Mike DiMatteo. He is the owner of All Things Good in Chicago. Is that right, Coach?
Absolutely.
Give us a little bit of background on you.
Well, I've been coaching option football for quite a while. I'm going on my 13th year. Been running the spread triple for 12. I actually learned the spread triple from a very good friend of mine, who's Jeff Monk, and he's now the head coach at Georgia Southern. We've had a lot of success with it, and ran it also out of the shotgun. We converted a lot of stuff for a few years when I was at another high school here called Hinsdale Central, and basically took the Georgia Southern package because we had a different kind of team and different kind of quarterback, and kind of converted it to the shotgun, and I had a lot of success. Was in the state championship game in 08, and took a job here so I could be a lot closer to home. Hinsdale Central is about an hour and 10 minutes from my house. And all head coaches know it's the time commitment's actually, it's huge. So I just made the decision that we needed to be closer to home, and took a job in the process of rebuilding the program at Buffalo Grove High School.
Now, are you commuting back and forth an hour and 10 minutes?
Well, I was. I did that for 6 years, and it was an hour and 10 one way. Actually.
Wow.
So it's over 2 hours, and if there was snow, how Chicago weather is, wait 5 minutes, it changes.
Mm-hmm.
That could turn into a 2-hour ride one way. So it was just something I felt like I had to do. I have a son in high school and a daughter going to be in high school, and a younger son. This was one of those things that when an opportunity presented itself at Buffalo Grove, I was fortunate enough to be called for the job, and I'm looking forward to it. It's been a lot of fun. We've only been at it for a few months since last January, but we're making strides and trying to change a whole bunch of things, attitude, timbre of the school, those kinds of things, and our guys are working hard at it. So it's been fun so far.
I believe the average commute up in New York City, I think, is 2 hours, so I'm not that surprised by it.
Well, I'll tell you, when you're in it doesn't seem like it's that big a deal, but when you don't have to do it anymore and your ride now is 25 minutes, you realize, holy cow, I was spending so much time in the car, I had no idea. And I'm saving about $270 a month in gas, so that's it's kind of nice.
Oh, yeah, it always helps to save the money in the pocket. You're not putting it in the gas tank and putting wear and tear on the car.
No doubt about that. So it's been a great thing for us, and like I said, it's been a great opportunity at Buffalo Grove, and we had a great time at Hinsdale Central and also at Lake Zurich, where I was the head coach. These are all schools around here, and I'm just fortunate enough to be able to do something that I really love doing. That's coach football and work with kids and coaches, and just try to make things better.
Coach DiMatteo is going to fry a turkey for us here later on. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. That's the wrong day.
Actually, but I'll tell you what, we did do it for Thanksgiving, and we do it every year, and it's fantastic.
Great stuff, isn't it?
You bet.
Yeah, I've got my turkey fryer out there, and Ellie asked me, my wife Ellie, for those of you who don't know, who's also the assistant producer for the program, she says, well, what do you want to do this Christmas? And I thought,
Well, we did it we did it, 7 years ago? I think for the first time we thought, well, if it's no good, then we'll just order pizza for Thanksgiving. And it turned out great, and we've done it ever since. And I'm getting better every year, and this year was probably our best year. So we marinated a little bit with some, what was it? It was lime, or lemon pepper. That's what it was, lemon pepper. We injected it with lemon pepper, and we got after it. And
hoorah!
That turkey didn't stand a chance, so it was fun.
That's great. It's either order pizza or go to the local Chinese place and get that goose, if you remember
there you go.
The movie The Christmas Story. All right. Coach, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, I thought that we might delve into a little bit of trying to talk about training your quarterback to run the triple option, either from under center or from the shotgun, which are two completely different approaches. But I think it's something that is needed from the standpoint of, if you want to run the triple option, the big piece of the puzzle is really trying to understand what that quarterback is supposed to do, get him to do it, and that's kind of what my expertise is in. And I thought it would be something really good to talk about, something informative, and hopefully something that someone can use.
All right, we've talked food, which we always talk about in this program. We're getting in through the introduction period here. Before we go into a break here, as far as the triple option is concerned, I know there's probably 500,000 drills out there in how to teach triple option. Now, I was never a triple option guy. We were always a pro set power sweep team. We did run the run and shoot for a year. We had a little bit of double option, but we never really had triple option in there. Do you teach the double option first and then work your way into the triple, or do you just start from day one in the triple?
No, we were day one. You have to go. I think you have to go day one right into the triple. The double option is easier to get to once you get the triple, but the triple is so intricate from the standpoint of footwork, hand placement, quarterback getting his eyes on the read key, those kinds of things, that you really need to jump into it with both feet and do it right. And once he gets those pieces, the double option to me is just a lot easier, because you're really removing what I would consider the most difficult piece, and that's the dive key. You're taking a step back, or some people take a shelf step to get to that double, that step back, look at number two, and get on them. That's a lot easier to teach than it is footwork for the triple. So we start right away with the triple, and then we work from there.
We got to pay some bills. We'll be right back with Coach Mike DiMatteo from the Windy City. And, start the slamming music. Coaches helping coaches. That is the message behind Jerry Campbell Football. Jerry Campbell Football provides the best quality products that can increase the range of information and understanding of football coaches, players, and fans. You can find great value on the website located at www.jerrycampbellfootball.com. Jerry Campbell Football has books and DVDs available, whether it be offense, defense, resume preparation, the kicking game, or PowerPoint training. Jerry Campbell Football has what you need to build your knowledge base. Whether by using a traditional approach to cutting-edge technology, you can enhance your knowledge in nearly any area. You can also join in with coaches from all over the country at the interactive message forum at www.jerrycampbellfootball.com. That's www.jerrycampbellfootball.com. This segment of Coach's Corner is brought to you by Jerry Campbell Football. Check out Coach Campbell's book, Combining the 3-3-5 with the 4-2-5 Defensive Scheme, at www.jerrycampbellfootball.com. Coach Mike DiMatteo is my guest. He is from the Windy City of Chicago, somewhere in that great, massive metropolis up there. And Coach, I have this 25-pound cat who's staring at me. He's trying to play these Jedi mind tricks on me. He's looking at me, staring, and feed me. No, you've already been fed. Get out of here. Okay, Coach DiMatteo.
You might want to feed him.
Hey, I'm sure he wants something that I'm not in the mood to get up and give him. Who knows? Maybe another cat or something. I don't know. He looks like he's eaten several. He is a huge cat. He's one of these cats. When he walks, his belly shakes underneath of him. Okay, Coach, let's go ahead and talk installing the triple option offense.
Well, the first thing you're going to have to do, if you really want to go down that road, is you have to realize that there is a commitment to it. The reads are intense, and it takes a lot of training for the quarterback to be able to make those reads and the snap decision he's going to have to make, and it all happens really quickly. So I don't believe that you can install the triple option as a piece of what you're going to do. I think it has to be all or nothing. And once you make that decision, then you really have to make the commitment to training that quarterback, and you either have to hire somebody on your staff to do the research that's necessary, or you're going to have to do it yourself. And in my case, being a former quarterback 1,000 years ago, I decided that it was going to be me. But it's one of those things that when you decide to do this, and you decide if you're not going to do it yourself, you're going to hire a guy, then he's got to make that commitment to do the research. It's labor intensive, but it gets to be a labor of love, and it gets to be one of those things that becomes addicting. So if anybody's going to ask me about how to install the triple, the first thing I would say is you got to find a quarterback coach, or do it yourself. And that's the approach we've taken. And then once you do that, then you have to figure out, are you going to be from the shotgun set, or are you going to be from under center? For us, at the school that I'm at currently, under center is going to fit us the best. So we're very Georgia Southern, Navy, Georgia Tech. That's who we are. We're the Paul Johnson School of the triple. So we're going to concentrate on our reads from under center, where our quarterback's feet have to be. Are they going to be on the midline or off the midline? I teach our guys something called the jump step open, which is a little different than the traditional opening that a quarterback might do, for example, with the split back veer. It's a short hop where his heels are off of the midline to the play side. So, for example, if you're going to run the base play in our offense is 12 and 13, 12 being inside veer to the right, 13 being inside veer to the left. The first thing we're going to do is teach our quarterback where his feet are supposed to go, which are literally shoulder width apart. And as he receives the snap from the center, he literally does a short hop. It's called the jump step open, getting his feet down as quickly as possible and getting his hand positioned to his back hip, knee slightly bent, and then eyes on the read key. And that's probably the hardest part to teach a new quarterback, is really keeping those eyes on the read key with his arms outstretched, literally at his back hip. Now, one of the coaching points that's in the video that we made for Coach's Choice is literally to tell your quarterback that his back hand, his play side hand, is attached to the back portion of his hip. So when he jump step opens, that hand follows the hip, that automatically brings the ball back. And that is something that you have to rep over and over and over so they get used to it. A lot of kids, when they come into high school, they played Pop Warner, for example, or some other youth league, and a lot of that stuff tends to be where they put the ball in their belly and then extend it, or maybe it's a outside zone where they extend the ball real far as they're running the outside zone. Triple option is just a little bit different. The coaching point that we tell our guys is that when you're finally in position properly, you really should be uncomfortable. where your feet are shoulder width apart. Your heels are off the midline. Weight is on the backside foot, prepared to push forward, but your hands are at your back hip. And when that occurs and your eyes are facing the other way onto the read key, it really is an uncomfortable position. And that's kind of what we start out our guys doing. All of our quarterbacks have to learn the jump step open. And that's the very first part that we teach our quarterbacks. And it's probably the hardest part.
Now, this is under center, right?
This is all from under center. If you're going to do it from the shotgun, it's a little bit different. Your stance is the same. You're straddling the midline, depending on where you want to go. Pistol's closer to us. Pistol is heels at 3. Shotgun heels are at 5. I ran it with our heels at 5. And when the snap comes, the coaching point there is that the quarterback has to attack the ball at the snap. If the quarterback waits for the ball, while the running back, who's usually offset to one side or the other of the quarterback, he has to take a slide step to get himself in position. If he's slide stepping and the quarterback isn't attacking the ball, what's going to wind up happening is as the running back moves forward onto his landmark, the quarterback is going to try to reach that ball back, and he's not going to be able to get it. The ball will be forward, and the ball's going to wind up on the ground. So the key coaching point for under center is that you have to attack the snap of the ball. So whatever your cadence happens to be, when that ball is snapped, the quarterback's got to be moving forward. If it's inside veer, he steps with his right foot, attacking forward, off of the midline to the right side. If it's inside veer to the left, he attacks with his left foot, off of the midline to the left. That was something that took us, when we first did this, a good portion of the summer. I'd say a good first quarter of the summer to finish figuring out. We couldn't figure out why was our mesh off. It didn't make any sense. But once we started having our quarterback attack the ball at the snap, that solved a lot of problems for us. And we became pretty successful because of it. So it's two different approaches. Both, I think, can be successful. The big trend now, of course, is to be from the shotgun formation and doing a lot of what we call jet option, where the slot will run sideways, literally like a jet sweep, and we read that way. But we had a lot of success running the true triple inside veer from the shotgun formation. But that coaching point itself is probably the most important thing. So we always teach using the midline. So we'll have an imaginary line between the quarterback's legs, and what he does off of it, helps him learn where his feet are supposed to be.
Coach Mike DiMatteo is my guest. He's from the Windy City of Chicago, coaching up there. And let's go ahead and lead out of here. Mainstream South from Jacksonville, Florida.
Easy Cut from CompuSports is a fast and enjoyable way to edit and analyze your game videos. Watch entire games on your computer, then label and index plays with a click of a mouse. Copy scenes to CD, DVD, or a memory stick, and upload to online video sharing sites like YouTube. Search and sort plays by keywords. Then pause, restart, rewind, and even watch frame by frame for fast and detailed video analysis. Easy Cut is compatible with XP, Vista, and Windows 7. Download the 21-day free trial now or order on CD and discover how easy it is to start analyzing your game videos today.
This segment of Coach's Corner is sponsored by CompuSports, publisher of the Easy Cut video editing software program. Easy Cut works for any sport and starts at just $195. Easy Cut, the affordable video editing software, available at CompuSports.com.
love seismic anomaly coming into this piece, don't you? I'm telling you. Coach Mike DiMatteo is my guest. He has a couple of videos up on coacheschoice.com, and they have to do with quarterback play in the triple option from the shotgun and under center. And we'll be talking a little bit about that here today, as well as hopefully we'll get into some jet option football, because this whole jet thing, I think, really took off when everybody started seeing Auburn running it with Cam Newton, and then now everybody wanted to run it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It also allows you to take a team that has, let's say you have some really gifted skill guys and stretch the defense laterally, and that becomes very difficult for a defense to defend. When you can stretch them laterally and vertically, it's going to create problems for defensive coordinators. And if you have an athletic quarterback on top of it, well, now it becomes, I think, more of a four-headed monster than a three-headed monster, and it can be difficult. But it also, I think, it's not as easy to do as some people think, because you got to have some pretty decent offensive linemen from at least our experience. You know, they have to be pretty versatile. They got to be able to pass pro, and they got to be able to run block. And if you're going to choose to run the counter trey scheme with it, they have to be able to move. So you better have some pretty dynamic offensive linemen.
We were talking a little bit off the air during the break. There was a point that was brought up by Coach Alex Gibbs, the retired offensive line coach out of formerly Seattle, formerly Atlanta, formerly Denver Broncos, where he brought that wide zone scheme to, and that basically was his claim to fame and did real well with it. It has a couple of Super Bowl rings to back it up. He had made a point when we're talking quarterback out of the shotgun that quarterbacks like to get out and get back rather quickly, and sometimes they are opening the door to disaster, because as they're backing away, the ball's coming up, the trajectory of the ball is now affected because the quarterback is backing up and he's not waiting on it. Coach John Bland, who was on here before from the University of the Cumberlands, he had said he teaches the quarterback to attack the ball coming to him, not backing away. He's attacking that ball coming to him.
I think that both of them are absolutely right. If you're talking quarterback play from the gun, and even if you're going to run the triple, you have to attack that football. Like I said earlier, if you don't, the mesh point with your running back is going to be all off. The other thing is, Coach Gibbs is correct, in my opinion. Quarterback is backing out, especially if he's backing out to try to get into his five-step a lot quicker. You know, from the shotgun, if you're going to throw a three-step, you don't really go anywhere. At least that's not what we taught. Quarterback gets the ball, he flips his hips, he throws the ball. If it's going to be five-step, he'll take 3 steps from the gun if his heels are at 5. But that ball is going to keep soaring. And I agree with him. I think that a quarterback backing out is a problem. Plus, I don't think it's very aggressive. And we like our quarterbacks to be aggressive, and we want our offense to be aggressive. And we're going to run the triple out of the gun, and he's got to attack forward. And as I said earlier, that's why some coaches prefer to run the triple option from the pistol. We call it the pistol, heels of 3, because that trajectory isn't so difficult, and you can much more easily handle a bad snap than maybe at 5 yards with the ball goes soaring over the guy's head, and that's a big problem. But like I said, I think the most important thing from the shotgun is that you especially if you're going to run the triples, that you have to attack the ball at the snap. Now, if you're going to run the jet option, you can't really have them attack the ball because it's going to be difficult to have a mesh. So you got to time that mesh up. What we did was we moved our quarterback up to 4.5 yards instead of heels at 5. That little bit of a half yard seemed to help us quite a bit. But that'll allow you still to get that snap and then time up the jet motion with the snap of the ball and your quarterback. Again, not backing up but staying stationary. You know, that'll help that mesh point.
A lot has been said in the quarterback-fullback exchange, especially in midline. I know some folks will tell the quarterback, stick that ball up in there if your number 3 key is going upfield. Maybe he's doesn't have his shoulders turned to you, and you jam that ball into his stomach, and the fullback comes home, he's got some bruises on him.
Well, we will teach our fullback and we call him a B-back, and our quarterback, we're going to teach them from day one. When we're teaching our quarterback his steps, we're going to teach our quarterback B-back mesh right off the get-go. And we're literally going to go step by step. We teach it by a 3 count. Because we don't want to get their arms beat up, and we don't want to get them beat up. That's going to wind up putting the ball on the ground. They need to feel comfortable with a mesh. So what we'll do is we teach it via 3 counts, whether it was from the gun or whether it was from under center. Literally, I'll stand in front of these guys and I'll count 1, 2, 3. 1, quarterback jump step opens, and the B-back takes his step, his play side foot, which is usually about a 6-inch step, his first step, exactly towards his landmark, which for us is the inside leg of the play side guard. If he's from the shotgun, he'll take a slide step with his, if he's aligned to the right, he'll take a slide step with his left foot, which means in his stance, his feet have to be under him, literally just underneath shoulder width apart. And then when I say 2, quarterback, make sure that the ball is to his back hip, as I explained earlier, and the B-back takes his big step towards his landmark. And then at 3, B-back takes his next step, and on that third step, whether it's from the gun or whether it's from under center, there should be a mesh. The ball should be literally in that mesh point with the quarterback. And we'll check that mesh, make sure the ball is seated properly. We always teach our guy to seat the ball just under the sternum, and the quarterback should have his knees bent and his back straight. We don't want him hunched over. What happens when he gets hunched over is, as the B-back goes running by, the shoulder pad hits him in the helmet, hits him in the face mask, then jerks his head. So if he has his back straight during the mesh, he's less likely to get his face mask jerked. Try saying that 3 times fast. And he'll be able to keep his eye on the read key. And we've avoided a lot of problems that way. And I think the first time you start teaching it, kids, whether it's from the gun or under center, they tend to lean forward a bit and they tend to duck their head a little bit, and you got to try to keep them straight. Once that mesh is reached, then we'll say go. That's the 4th command. And the quarterback will pull the ball straight into his sternum. B-back runs full speed for 10 yards. The quarterback disengages and gets down the line of scrimmage. That's literally how we teach the jump step open or the mesh from the gun from day one. And we spend a good 10 minutes doing that. Kids don't necessarily like it. They want to they want to jump up in there and then start doing it right away like they see on TV or whatever. But, if you don't get that base point down, you're going to have a whole lot of trouble. Or as Bum Phillips once said, you're going to have more hell over it than a little bit. And that's the most important piece. So we spend quite a bit of time doing that.
Coach Mike DiMatteo is my guest. He has some videos up there on Coach's Choice you really want to go and take a look at. Right now. Go take a look at his videos up there at coacheschoice.com. And we're going to be back next to complete this option sequence in our next segment. This is Paul Hanna. You and I both know that researching for information is not easy. We all know it's real difficult to find the depth of information that we need, and I might even wrap my head in packing tape to keep my head from exploding to Mars. Oh yeah, I did that already, didn't I, Daisy? Well, I'd like to tell you about a resource that's out there right now. Whether it's 353-425-4334, FootballDefense.com has over 250 articles on every defensive front, plus stunts, blitzes, coverages, game planning, and more. FootballDefense.com is the premier resource for defensive football coaches, focusing on sound defensive principles, drills that get results, and techniques that win. Visit FootballDefense.com and sign up for a free 353 defensive video playbook today. That's FootballDefense.com. That's FootballDefense.com. Oh yeah, and it's GOAT mascot approved also. FootballDefense.com.
Let me take you to a place in time where the top rolls down. The hippest cats and the coolest chicks play their radios loud.
Robert Wanyu here leading us into this segment from Castleton, Vermont. He's a professor up there at a college up there in Vermont. And nice to hear from him every once in a while. Coach Mike DiMatteo is my guest. We've been talking option football. We've been talking quarterback, fullback exchange and shotgun snaps and what the quarterback does in his footwork. Let's go ahead and take this to the next step, Coach.
Okay. Once you get the mesh drilled down, as we spoke about earlier, we call it the form-fit drill. Then what you need to do, in our opinion anyway, is you need to start running it with speed. And that means that you're going to run your cadence. and you're literally just going to work on the dive phase. And in our practice segment, we'll do that 15 to 20 minutes every day. Literally, you have to make sure your quarterback knows what your count system is, however you're going to do it. We follow the Georgia Southern, Georgia Tech count system, where number 1 is the first man touching the tackle. Number 2 is the next man either stacked or outside, and then number 3 is the alley fill player. I'm venturing that most people follow that count system. It may vary a little bit, but that's what we follow. And so we're going to concentrate on our quarterback getting his read down, his eyes on his read key, reading number 1. That's the dive phase for us. And check that landmark with the fullback, inside leg of the play side guard, and we're going to go full speed at it. Our B-backs have to run 10 yards after the mesh, whether they get the ball, whether they don't. It's got to be a full sprint. And I think that the most important thing is that quarterback making sure that his eyes are on the read key. The coaches teach you little different ways. There's little subtleties. Is he going to turn the shoulders? Is it a pull read? If he comes straight up field, is it a give read? Is his head turned? I mean, I've heard all sorts of things. What our guys to do is we teach our guys to look right in the eyes of the read key, look them square in the eyes. The eyes aren't going to lie. And our B-back has to go full speed. And I think that that's probably the most difficult part, is making sure that your B-back is hitting his landmark, keeping his eyes inside of his read key, and I'll talk about that in a second for a cutback, but making sure that he goes as fast as he possibly can. Kids don't necessarily, especially when they're unsure, they want to slow themselves down, or the quarterback's going to want to make sure he looks the ball into the belly of the B-back because he doesn't trust that he's going to be there. And I think that part, coaching quarterbacks, is probably the most difficult. So one of the easy drills that we do for that, even without a B-back, is to have him run his drill, his jump step open drill, and coach will be literally at a 4 technique. And all he's going to do is squat down and flash numbers with his hand, 3, 2, 5, 1, whatever the case may be. And as the quarterback takes a snap, jump step opens, he has to yell out the number that the coach is showing him. That hopefully will train his eyes to be on his read key every single time. And I'm sure there's lots of other drills, but that's the big one that we use. Once you put the B-back in, you got to have your read key. It's usually a coach, and he's either going to step down or he's going to step up. It's an easy read for the quarterback, but it's got to be done full blast. The reason it's got to be done full speed is because if these guys are trained too slow, then they're not going to react quick enough. And there's going to be lots of blown reads early, and that's okay. I think I read once, long time ago, it takes about 3,000 reps to get proficient at it, and that's about the midpoint of the season. So we want to try to move that timetable up as much as we can.
That's a lot of reps.
It is a lot of reps, and that's why every day, we devote 15 minutes just to that segment alone. 10 or 15 minutes, depending. Summer camp, it'll be 15 minutes. And during the regular season, it'll be more like 10 for our pre-practice segment, and we just drill that. And that's just the inside veers. And that's not including the midline, and if you add, like we do, the outside veer. We run all 3 options. We run midline, inside, and outside veer. A lot of coaches won't add the outside veer because the steps are radically different, but in our case, we believe that triumvirate is very difficult to defend. If you have the capability of running all 3 of those types of options, it's going to really stress out a defense. And all of them have their different teaching and coaching points. But the key is to make sure that your B-back and your quarterback are going full speed. And when the quarterback pulls the ball, he's got to go full speed. If he gives the ball, and this is another really important coaching point, if you're just installing the triple option coaches know this, but they're just going to install it. If your quarterback gives the ball, his rule has to be to accelerate down the line of scrimmage. The first reaction of a young quarterback is going to be to slow up. Well, I don't have the ball anymore. The ball is gone. The B-back has the ball, and my job is done. When, in fact, it has to be the opposite. He has to accelerate. You'll hear us say that to our guys. Accelerate down the line of scrimmage. That might be the most important coaching point to give your quarterback without the ball, is to accelerate down the line of scrimmage. That gives us and maintains that illusion of who the heck has the ball. And when you tie that in with your A-back coming around the backside on his option path, then, and you get good at it, then it really becomes who has the ball. And that's a little bit of sleight of hand, and that's part of the beauty of the triple. And that's why we love it so much. And when you can add those into there's actually a couple of really great coaching points with regard to the path of the B-back. If he's not getting the ball, he should veer inside. That'll suck down the 9 technique. Those kinds of things that one gets with experience and research. But in terms of the inside veer and the quarterback play, you really have to spend time in that mesh, spend time in the read, and really spend time teaching that quarterback to accelerate down the line of scrimmage. It's, for us anyway, a very important coaching point.
We had Coach Johnny Annucci from Pennsylvania on here. I believe he is in New Jersey now. And
I know of Coach. He's very good.
Yes, he was talking about option football is basically like playing keep away. It's 2-on-1, which is a lot of fun for us, but not so much fun for you.
I like that analogy. I think that's a real good analogy, and I tell our guys it's a magic show. You know, it's that the 3P game. You know, who's got the ball next? If you do it right, and you really can sell the illusion of who the heck has the ball, but that illusion is only sold by acceleration when you don't have the ball. If you can sell that, I think you're going to give yourself a pretty good opportunity to run the triple, assuming, of course, that their reads are correct and their landmarks are correct. And one other piece I think should be mentioned in the version of the triple that we run is our B-back has a read key also. His read key is the first man inside the read key. So, for example, if we're playing a 50 defense, our quarterback's going to read the 4 technique tackle. Our B-back is going to read the 0. If the 0 crosses the face of the center onto the play side, he's going to cut back behind him. And that, in combination with your blocking scheme, almost gives you a zone concept. It kind of neutralizes the slanting nose to the play side. It helps you with that, especially if it's a give. So there's some things inside of the read key that are important, too. And, again, that all comes with experience, but in terms of coaching quarterbacks, he's got to get his eyes on the read key. They got to stay there, and he's got to accelerate after he gives the ball if it's a give. He just has to.
Coach Mike DiMatteo is my guest. He is in the Chicagoland area. For those of you familiar with how big that place is, I mean, that is huge. Clarissa's going to lead us out. We're going into the next segment here. Got to pay some bills. Back after this.
No one else can touch me now. Number recognition of you. And if I don't hold you now, I'll break down. And if I break down with you.
Track your entire equipment and clothing inventory in real time with Athletic Equipment Manager. You'll know where it is and who has it. Quickly add or adjust inventory levels. A tag system assigns and tracks each piece. Look up the status of single items or groups of items. Assemble and print reports for each athlete or entire teams, any sport. And it works in single and multi-user mode. Even on your laptop, Athletic Equipment Manager puts you in control. Download it today and try it for free from CompuSports.
This segment of Coach's Corner is sponsored by CompuSports, publisher of Athletic Equipment Manager software, the affordable sports inventory software that starts at just $199, available at CompuSports.com. This is the Coach's Corner radio show. I am John Anderson, at least I was when I woke up this morning. Who knows what happened since then. Next of kin bringing us into the segment, great music from those folks out of Bridgeport, Alabama. We're talking with Coach Mike DiMatteo out of the Windy City. And, Coach, I know it does get pretty windy up there.
It does, and it gets cold in the wintertime, and as the great singer Lou Rawls once said, he called it the almighty hawk. It gets so cold that all the clothes in the world can't help you.
Oh, my. Now, how does triple option football play up in there in the Windy City in the cold conditions?
Well, actually, there are not a ton of triple option teams up in Chicago. There really aren't. I mean, there are some teams that do double option and things like that, but I live in Cary, which is a suburb north of Chicago, about an hour north and west of the city. There's not a whole lot of triple option football, but there are people that will run double option and a lot of shotgun stuff, that kind of thing. But really very few schools run true triple. And ironically enough, our local school where my kids go to school, Cary Grove High School, was in the state championship, and they're exclusively triple option.
Wow.
So it was kind of fun, and I get to talk with those guys quite a bit, and they're great guys, Coach Brad Seberg, and they do just a great job. So it's kind of fun, and we're one of the few, we're the only team in our conference that runs the true triple. So there's not a ton.
Coach, we've talked about the inside veer. We've talked about the quarterback mesh with the fullback both in the shotgun and under center. Let's go on to the next segment.
The next segment would be the pitch phase. Once the disconnect has happened with the B-back, quarterback is going to get lateral down the line of scrimmage. If he's from the shotgun, it's more of an angle. And the reason I say that is because of the coaching point that we teach. We teach our quarterback to attack the inside shoulder of number 2. And number 2 would be our pitch key. And the reason we do that is because it doesn't really allow the defender to string out the play. If he's going to take a step outside, then we're going to plant our foot and we're going to get vertical right on his inside shoulder. If he's going to stay still, we're going to attack his inside shoulder, then pitch it. As soon as the A-back is able to clear that pitch area, in other words, get to the point where number 2 can't recover to get the pitch man, we're going to pitch it. And we want to pitch it lateral. We do not want to pitch it backwards. We really want to pitch the ball laterally. The reason for that is because why should I have my slot back, my A-back, run 3 yards just to get to the line of scrimmage? I'd rather gain ground and gain positive ground on every step. So we really work pitching that ball laterally. But to attack the inside shoulder to us is really the key to the pitch phase. So we're going to attack that inside shoulder. And what's going to happen over time is our quarterback's going to get 4 yards, 5 yards forward. He may break a tackle and get inside. But that coach across the field is going to start screaming, get the quarterback. Well, then what is that pitch key going to do? He's going to step down hard. As soon as he steps down hard, the ball's on the edge and we're gone. So it's a really important thing for us to attack that inside shoulder. It's the most important thing in our mind. And that also, as I said, is going to really pressure that defense. The other thing that we teach our guys is to pull and replace. Depending on what defenses are facing, we're going to teach our quarterback to, if it's a pull, to literally pull the ball and get into the hole as quickly as possible. Take that step and get upfield. And again, that's just a tighter way of saying attack the inside shoulder. Sometimes quarterbacks will have a tendency to take 2 or 3 steps too wide, and that allows the defender to make a recovery. And what could be a 10-yard gain might only wind up being a 2 or 3-yard gain. Whereas if he replaces, now he can get into that inside shoulder a lot faster and get himself vertical. We want to attack vertically. We do not want to attack laterally. We want to get the ball vertical, gain positive ground on every single step, and that's really our philosophy of how we try to teach the triple.
Sounds like take one cut and get upfield and get what you can out of it.
Yeah, it is, but like I said, it's all about pressure. We really want to pressure that number 2 when we're running the triple. We want that kid to have to do something rather than bring that play out. The longer that the play goes wide, the less chance we have for success. The secondary can recover. If we can't get to the backside backer for whatever reason on that play, he can run the play down. We don't want it going lateral. We really want to get that ball vertical. So everything we do, we try to get vertical as quick as possible. And that's, for us anyway, has been a real important thing. Now, if we're getting a lot of pressure from the backside back and we can't get to them, well, then we'll run our counter option series or we'll run our counter ISO, whatever we have put in for that particular week. We tend to run counter option, which you can watch Georgia Tech and Georgia Southern run. It's real important to make sure that you neutralize that backside linebacker. He's the guy that makes a ton of plays, so you've got to keep that guy honest, and that's the way to do it. But like I said, for us, you have to pressure and you got to attack number 2. That's the most important thing. And for us, attack the inside shoulder.
There's a number of option teams in the NCAA Division I level, and right away you have to think of Air Force when Fisher DeBerry was there,
right.
And now Army, Navy, the service academies, and Georgia Tech. So you have an offense where you can put out on the field. A lot of people have seen it, but a lot of people don't know which direction you're going. They don't know who's going where, and it's all dependent upon the choreography of the defense as far as what they're going to give you. What do you take into the game planning aspect, or do you just read your rules and go as you go?
Well, I think that it's a little bit of both. We're going to enter every game. We're going to have our 5 base plays. That's what we call them the Big 5. So we're going to go into our game planning to run midline and a couple of its variations in terms of how we block it. We're going to run inside veer, and everything we do wants to get us back to running inside veer. So if we run counter option, if we run rocket toss, the reason we do those things is because we want to make the defense adjust so that we can come back and run inside veer. So inside veer, midline, for us, outside veer, and then counter option. Those are the base plays that we're going to come to. Those are midline, inside veer, outside veer, counter option, and then rocket toss. That's the 5th one. So those are the big five that we're going to have. We'll have a couple of different blocking schemes. But for the most part, when you're running the spread triple, you're going to get a base defense. You might occasionally get a junk front, something that's a little bit out of the ordinary, but that's when you rely on your rules, and that answers the second part of your question. The rules are pretty simple. And as long as you apply your rules, you should be able to deal with just about every front. But the other thing that we stress to our guys and that we will stress to our players is before we change our play, we're going to change the formation. And that's a big one. That has prevented grab bagging and things like that. Sometimes, you'll watch some teams, and this is the beauty of the system that Paul Johnson came up with. They tend to grab bag a little bit. Well, this play isn't working, so we're going to run a double reverse pass or something like that. For us, we're going to run inside veer. We're running inside veer, and we're going to bet that our ability to run inside veer, because we've practiced it so much, is going to be better than your ability to try to defend it in 3 or 4 days or 2 days or whatever you have to prepare. But on top of that, we're going to play games with you with formation. So we're going to try to make sure that we can run inside veer, but we're going to try to do it with a variety of formations to make sure that we can get into the look that we want. And I think that if you go into a game with that mentality, limited plays, with a couple of variations in terms of possible blocking schemes, and the idea that you're going to formation before you adjust your play, it's going to allow your practice time to be a heck of a lot more efficient because you're doing limited things, but boy, oh boy, you can get them done well, and you can allow your players to play fast.
Coach Mike DiMatteo is my guest. He's from the Chicagoland area. He has a couple of videos up on Coach's Choice. His last name is spelled Delta India Mike Alpha Tango Tango Echo Oscar. At least I think I got that right. Here's Cookie Cutter Girl, and she's singing Get the Picture. Back after this. If you are interested in becoming a sponsor on Coach's Corner on the CompuSports Radio Network and you'd like to place your commercial right here on this program, just email me, John, John, at CompuSportsRadio.com. That's John, John, at CompuSportsRadio.com. So for the next 30 seconds or so, let's enjoy some Crash the Machine from Sacramento, California.
This segment of Coach's Corner is sponsored by CompuSport, distributor of the Playmaker Pro and Coach's Office Playbook software packages, available at CompuSport.com.
I always love that Crash the Machine intro. Always. It just never seems to get old. Coach Mike DiMatteo is my guest from the Chicagoland area, and he is the head coach at
Buffalo Grove High School in Buffalo Grove, Illinois.
All right, let's go ahead and talk some of the base O-line play and maybe even the wide receivers here in your inside veer.
Sure. I can talk about it for you from, we'll do it from a 40 front just because it might be maybe the most common front. I don't know, 40, 50. The rules are pretty simple. If you're looking at running the inside veer from a spread formation, for us, it didn't really matter whether we were from the shotgun or whether we're under center, but I'll talk about it from under center. If you're going from left to right, and your defensive alignment is going to be a 5 technique, and then a 1, and then a 3, and then a 5, we'll start with we're going to run inside veer to the right side. So for us, we'll call that 12. And we'll start from the left side. The left side, we're going to have our backside tackle. He's going to release to the second level. We're not really going to concern ourselves too much with the 5 technique on the backside. If he can chase down our inside veer from the backside, then he's a stud. And there's a couple of different things we have to do with him, or we simply change the blocking to what we call an anchor down technique, where our tackle will anchor down on that guy and forestall him. And the backside guard then is going to run a scoop technique. Sometimes we'll have our backside guard cut the one technique. We'll alternate between scoop and cut. If he's really, really good, we might have to do what we call a reverse ace, where the center and guard take care of him. But most of the time, your backside guard should be able to scoop that one, especially if his steps are proper. The center is going to step, and this is really difficult for centers for whatever reason. They have to step half of the play side aid gap. So they're going to take their 45-degree step and then work to the second level to get to the mic. Most inside veer teams that run the triple option aren't going to run to a 3 technique. Better to run the midline in high school to a 3 technique rather than inside veer, but it can be done. If you have a couple of really good linemen, we had some success with it when I was at Lake Zurich, running to a 3 technique, only because it breaks a tendency. Defenses will say, well, gee, they only run inside veer to the 1 technique. Well, we'll occasionally run it to the 3 technique because, it breaks tendencies, and B, if we have a couple of dominant offensive linemen, why not drive that guy off the ball? And that's exactly what happens. The rule is, if the guard is covered, then he's going to step and he's going to block man on. And what that also means is the tackle is going to veer release inside. So if the guard is covered, guard's going to block man on, and the play side tackle is going to veer release and essentially combo that guard to the Mike backer. And then that leaves the 5 technique is going to be your dive key. Your B-back is aiming to the inside leg of the play side guard. Your quarterback is eyeing up the dive key, which is your 5 technique. Your backside A-gap is coming around into his pitch relationship position, literally tails motion, replacing the heels of the B-back and getting lateral for 3 steps after the quarterback disengages. And you're reading that 5 technique. Your play side wide receiver, in our system we call him a W. He's going to stalk block the corner. If it's to the boundary, we're going to have him switch, so he'll actually do a switch technique. He'll take an inside release and aim for the alley player, number 3, which will be the strong safety, and the play side A-back will kick out. But in this instance, we'll have the play side wide out block on, and then our play side A-back we have him take 3 lateral steps and eye up number 3, which in this case, if it's cover 2, is going to be the play side safety, and then he'll arc release on him and block him. So what we have then is we have number 1 being the 5 technique, and number 2 is going to be the linebacker stacked or outside. Number 2 being, of course, the pitch read. The interesting thing about it is if the linebacker is aligned outside of number 1, that makes the read just a little bit easier, but sometimes they'll stack that linebacker and give us what we call an easy stunt look. And that means you're going to have to do what's called an area read. And that's another read that your quarterback has to make, and that's a read that has to be practiced quite a bit. We teach our quarterback, if he's going to area read because it's a stack, which also works, by the way, with a stack 3-3, we teach him to focus his eyes on the area in between both of those players. So in other words, he's going to look between the stacked linebacker and, in this case, the 5 technique. And if the 5 technique comes down at the pull, that would, of course, mean that the backer is going to scrape outside. If the 5 technique steps outside, the quarterback is going to be focusing on the stacked linebacker. That means more than likely the stacked linebacker is going to come inside. So that's a read that you drill quite a bit with your quarterback, and that takes quite a bit of time. Again, one of those things that you do in your 10 to 15-minute pre-practice period. For us in the summertime, it's 15 minutes, and we drill all of those reads as much as possible. Your backside wide out does what we call a BYA, and he tries to get across the middle of the field and try to cut somebody off, if he can be the cover 2 safety or anybody else. One other important coaching point that I think is really, really big is linemen have to get to the second level. And if your second-level defender disappears, you keep going to the third level. That's, I think, where the big plays are made in the triple. It's not really made at level 1. It's the ability to cut off level 2 and get to level 3. Those are the things I think that make big plays go. If linemen concentrate on the guy in front of them and forget about getting to level 2 or level 3, then you may have a successful play for a few yards, but you're never going to bust a big one. It's all about getting vertical and trying to get to level 2 and 3, and we preach that to our linemen. So what does that mean? That means your linemen are running, and they're running, and they're running, and they're running. They got to keep running. That allows you to do a number of different things. One of them is, if you choose, go no huddle, because you should practice that way anyway. If your linemen are running, they should be in pretty good shape. And we will do some no huddle things where we'll line up and signal in what we want, and we'll do false motion. We call it freeze motion. And then once we figure out what the defense is going to do, sometimes they'll tip their hand, and we'll call the play accordingly. And our linemen are in good shape to do that, which is another benefit. You don't need big, giant road graders to run this particular type of offense. You just don't. It's about angle blocking, and it's about getting the second and third level. Big, giant road graders can't necessarily run as well as some smaller guys. So it's allowed schools like the school I'm at to have a little bit of success with some smaller guys. We don't get big, giant linemen. And that's good. Now, if you can get big linemen that run, well, who would want that? It's about angles. That's the advantage for smaller schools.
Coach, does Illinois go by Federation rules?
Yes.
Okay. So you can't cut block or do any of those things that you see in other places? No,
I wish we could. We actually talked about it quite a bit. Being able to cut on second level, why can't we? And the rule, I think, was instituted in 81 or 82. I want to say it was 82. And the theory was to cut down on knee injuries, those kinds of things. But all the guys that I've talked to over the years insist that you actually had less knee injuries because defenders could see it coming. They could defend against it. And I was a player back then, and, what did I know? I wasn't coaching. But the consensus from some of the guys I've spoken to is that it's kind of a fallacy that there's all these knee injuries everywhere, and a lot of guys would love to see it reinstituted, but that's never going to happen. From what I understand, there's actually talk about eliminating cutting on the defensive line, and I think that if that happens, I think it's going to do a lot of damage to option teams because we live on that. We live by that, and I think it's going to be a big problem. I know the NFL was at least talking about it, so we'll see what happens.
Coach Mike DiMatteo has been my guest. Coach, I want to thank you for coming on to the program.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
And if you want to get into some more technical stuff, especially maybe jet sweep and that sort of thing, go over to OptionCentral.net, and you can hear Coach DiMatteo's interview on that topic over there, OptionCentral.net. Let's not forget that. Coach, once again, it is great having you on here talking football, and hopefully you can come on again in the future.
I would enjoy that, and thank you very much for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Final thoughts coming up after this. Want to thank Coach Mike DiMatteo for coming on today's show, and make sure you catch him over on the Mesh Point program over at OptionCentral.net, where we talk jet sweep.
Next on Coach's Corner.
Surprise guest next, Coach's Corner. Make sure you keep an eye out for that one. You're going to love my upcoming guest. And remember, Coach's Corner is an Abundant Harvest production here on the CompuSports Radio Network. We hope you had a great 2012, and we're looking forward to a great 2013. We'll see you next year, folks.